Hey there, folks. Welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture, and it's Billboard BREAKDOwn. I don't remember. You know, in the 4+ years I've been doing this series, I'm not sure I've ever encountered a week this slow on Billboard BREAKDOwn. We only have 2 new songs, not a lot of change elsewhere, and while I'm sure next week's Ariana Grande album bomb will change that, I'm gonna enjoy having a short episode of Billboard BREAKDOwn. It's a rare goddamn occurrence to be savored, that's all I'm saying. Hell, the most interesting things to happen this week might have just happened in the top 10. And no, I'm not talking about 7 Rings by Ariana Grande still being at number 1 thanks to sales and streaming and some frankly gross radio gains. Nope, the biggest top 10 shakeup comes with Happier by Marshmello and Bastille surging up to number 2 because they released a Fortnite music video. And I goddamn wish I was kidding. And while the radio fell off the entire week, the sales, the streaming, the YouTube, they all surged. And that pushed it past Without Me by Halsey at number 3. It's got good radio and solid sales, but the streaming weaknesses are starting to show through. And I still think that Sunflower by Post Malone and Sway Lee has a chance to pass it at number 4, given how its growth is pretty robust in every category. Then we got Sicko Mode by Travis Scott at number 5. Thanks to the Super Bowl, that song was not going anywhere across the board, but then we saw the slight revival for High Hopes by Panic at the Disco up to number 6. Although, given how its radio is steadily falling off along with its sales, I do not predict this is gonna last. No, I'm just surprised it held up over Thank You Next by Ariana Grande falling to number 7. This will rebound next week on a surprisingly soft week across the board, although it did hold up over Middle Child by J. Cole falling down to number 8 as the sales crashed and it's only really got streaming at this point. Then we've got Wow by Post Malone at number 9, and I gotta say, I am shocked it hasn't picked up more traction given the turbulence above it, but airplay hasn't gotten all the way on board and sales were down this week, and so while it still's got some upward potential, at least I think it does, it'll depend on how much damage Ariana will cause next week. Finally, we've got Girls Like You by Maroon 5 featuring Cardi B clinging on to number 10 on Super Bowl notoriety alone, and that's about as much credit as I want to give this song. Let's just hope it falls off sooner rather than later. And on that hopeful note, our losers and dropouts, and we don't really have much. Again, in the latter category, we're losing Best Shot by Jimmy Allen. For a starter single from this guy, he had a good run. And Bad by XXXTentacion. Not complaining there, but the losers list, it's also a bit more scattered. First, we had the continued drop-offs for Future with Crushed Up falling to 97, and First Off with Travis Scott going to 80, along with Logic losing with Keanu Reeves going to 91, but I was probably most pleased to see Mixed Personalities by YNW Melly and Kanye West slide down to 86, and Good Girl by Dustin Lynch taking a hit at 71. Then there are the songs I just don't really care about one way or the other. No Stylist by French Montana featuring Drake went down to 92, Saturday Nights by Khalid and Kane Brown went to 75, Beautiful by Bozzy featuring Camila Cabello went down to 47, and Speechless by Dan and Shay lost a surprising amount of traction to 44. Kind of interesting, especially given how well Tequila has held up this week, and it'll probably hold up another week thanks to the Grammys. But the most interesting story is the loss for Ariana Grande with Breathin'. I said this in the review, the rush release of Thank You Next is cannibalizing from her other singles, and that might be a more worrisome long-term sign than her camp realizes. I'm just saying it now. But on a more positive note, we did have a lot more returning entries this week. On My Way to You by Cody Johnson returned to 100, Close Friends by Lil Baby hit 99, Ocean Eyes by Billie Eilish is back at 96, Pure Water by DJ Mustard and Migos hit 64, and thanks to the goddamn Fortnite boost, Alone by Marshmello returned to 28. And it can leave at any time, I'm just saying. But our gains list is more stripped down, because of course we have crap like Talk to Me by Rich the Kid and Tory Lanez at 83, and Take It From Me by Jordan Davis somehow going up to 58, but the rest of our gains have a lot more promise. For one, A Lot by 21 Savage got a boost thanks to the video up to number 12, but the more welcome surprises came for Billie Eilish. And I'll admit I'm still kind of stunned that Bury a Friend surged up to 14 thanks to big streaming, but with the radio having no real clue what to do with her, I'd say she has to maintain some traction there or in sales in order to stick around. But in the meantime, she brought boosts for Lovely with Khalid up to 66, and When the Party's Over up to 61, so yeah, not complaining. But again, we only have 2 new arrivals this week, so I think it's time for an ideal hit. and that's actually kind of difficult, because so little that's mainstream accessible has been released, probably out of fear that the traction's gonna get stomped out by Ariana Grande next week. But hey, you know what? The Grammys just happened, and since a man like me can drain, let's talk about a little something from that show that's got every excuse to get traction on the Hot 100 right about now.
Well, the sky is finally open, the rain and wind stop blowing, but you're stuck out in the same old storm again.
So let's not mince words. I've been saying for years that Kacey Musgraves should be so much bigger in the mainstream than she is. But given the fact that most Nashville stations don't bother to promote women on their airwaves, at least women in country, in favor of interchangeable bros riding dead trends, plus the media fiasco with Bobby Bones from a couple years back, in which I would put money only further soured the radio on her, well, it's because Bobby Bones is a petty, spineless hack. But Kacey Musgraves hasn't gotten proper radio promotion in years. You have to argue that she stopped trying at some point, and without a ton of streaming that matters in this genre, that she's not going to go anywhere. So with Golden Hour, she just didn't even bother with the huge radio push, releasing singles that won her a small indie pop crossover audience, but nothing that would snag major attention in Nashville. But then she won Album of the Year at the Grammys and performed her newest single, Rainbow. And make no mistake, this would be huge for Nashville if they bothered to throw weight behind an artist who wants to drag the genre forward kicking and screaming, which is why I'm talking about the single here, to make a point. Now, this was not my favorite song off the album. When you got Slow Burn and Lonely Weekend and Space Cowboy, you've got stronger picks from the power ballad, and I can't help but compare this to the other piano ballad of the same name that Kesha made with Ben Folds back in 2017 that I really adore. But you know what? For a moment of understated optimism and for the sort of self-esteem anthem that falls in this lane, look, it's a cut above most. It's pretty simple, but it works in that lane. And if this is what Kacey Musgraves needs to get back on the Hot 100, I'll take it. Really damn great song. But that's just the ideal hit. If we're looking towards our two new arrivals, well, we've got number 95, Miss Me More by Kelsea Ballerini. Miss my own sheets in the bed I made up. You know, it's funny. I just was talking about how country radio, at least Nashville radio, was reticent to play women in country, and then we get a cut from Kelsea Ballerini here, so let me rephrase this. They'll play women with an explicit pop country sound and who are willing to play nice with the industry, which fits Kelsea Ballerini to a T. That said, it feels like I was one of the few people who actually kind of really liked her sophomore album and saw a pretty measurable improvement, and this is one of the best songs off that project. The sort of track that tears into an ex for everything that she sacrificed to satiate his ego, and turns out she misses her own stuff more. That's a good conceit. It leads to the darker edge that I've always thought was a good sound for her, and while I do think the hook is really overproduced and a little bit too much reverb, and I wish the guitar edge crackled a little bit stronger, gave this a little bit more bite, the track is carried on a better, faster groove, and I like it. In other words, yeah, not a lot of real competition this week, but I still like this song. Good stuff. And finally, number 56, One Call by Gunna. Niggas too scared to go. I mean, come on. Is this even fair? Gunna is the sort of utterly derivative artist who owes his career to an underwhelming fusion of Future and Young Thug, and he's never had anything interesting to say. Which is true here too. Seriously, it's a flex anthem that sounds like album filler. There's nothing to say about any of the bars here. If this is the lead-off single for a solo project, he's in a lot of trouble. I mean, the best thing I can say is that there's little precisely bad about the song either, aside from some sloppy diction in his delivery, and I don't really mind the production. The thicker, murky tones filling up the atmosphere behind the lumpy trap beat. It would be pretty solid behind a rapper who wasn't so heavily reliant on empty ad-libs to fill up half the hook, but beyond that, look, just not a lot to say about it. I don't expect it to last. And yet, that was our week. Pretty short, and let's not waste any more time. Kelsea Ballerini with Miss Me More has the best, Gunna with One Call has the worst, and I would put money on Ariana Grande's album bomb from Thank You Next nuking the both of them, especially with those streaming numbers that I'm seeing coming in. I don't know, we'll see next week. But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Billboard Breakdown on Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.